shows the kind of actor that he can be, and a lot of people might remember him more as Batman. I think this is definitely a close number 2, where he just basically playing a guy who does a hustle within a hustle, and was not expecting that in the least bit, but it's just one of those things, if anybody could pull it off, it's Christian Bale. So definitely major thumbs up to Christian Bale in American Hustle.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. So my last pick then for 2016 is actually we've done a good job at leading ourselves to the next one and the next one. So you actually just decided to take away the Oscar for this guy, Eddie Redmayne. I picked him to actually win in 2016, and I thought in 2015 he was phenomenal in Theory of Everything. I could not believe how good he did. And then year after year, back to back, I was like, he shouldn't have to hand the Oscar over. Like, I know everybody loved Leo, so yay, good for him. Leo DiCaprio won in 2016 for The Revenant, which it was a pretty intense role, and getting to see the behind the scenes to that was like, wow, like the guy actually ate raw meat and stuff. Like, come on now. You don't have to do that. You don't have to.
Right.
But Eddie Redmayne in Danish Girl is basically, he played a man in, I think it was the 30s or 40s, but in England. And he was struggling with his gender type, and he worked at a wig shop and a dress shop, and he would basically dress up in drag. He would dress up in drag, and he'd feel more like a complete person, and he just realized, like, this actor had to play a role that person didn't.
Oh, boy, and we froze.
For the times, a lot of transgender. Oh, are we back?
Yeah, okay. I think we're back now. You kind of froze for about a second, so.
Okay. Well, basically, in Danish Girl, he decides to undergo the first ever transgendered surgery, and it's just crazy. It's a very interesting time, and the fact that him and his wife go through this together, it's just an amazing story, and it would be super hard to act, so hard to act like that for a guy, and for anything, and it was just amazing. He really drew me into the story and made me really love his character to the point where, like, I did cry at the end, and I'm not telling why because I'm not going to give a spoiler. But it was just a really good movie, and he did a phenomenal job. And he was also in Les Mis, and I think he won for supporting actor for that. So this guy is crazy good, and everything he's in, I'm always like, yay, Eddie Redmayne, he's so cute, little redhead, let's do it. But no, I really support him, and I thought he shouldn't have even turned that Oscar over.
Well, unfortunately for you fans, we both agreed that 2016 was not Leo's year, because I actually went in that year and I actually chose Matt Damon for The Martian. And geez Louise, the fact that there's a lot of actors that know how to work a movie just by themselves. I mean, we've mentioned it: George Clooney, James Franco, Sandra Bullock, and Matt Damon again just knows how to make the movie very interesting. Sci-fi, man gets stuck on Mars. Very tough role to really kind of do. But I think Matt Damon does a phenomenal job at this. It kind of had a little bit of a Passengers kind of feel to it, but at the same time, Matt Damon just knocks it out of the park. Matt Damon deserves a lot more credit than what you got. But unfortunately, again, like we said, we think that Leonardo was not his year. Honestly, if ever it was Leonardo DiCaprio's year, it was probably the year Titanic was released, and he should have won that year. But I guess they wanted to kind of wait, and I don't know. Let me ask you this before we go any further. Do you feel like this Oscar for Leonardo DiCaprio was kind of a little bit more like a bit of a, I really hate to say this word, but it seems kind of, it seems like the only way to put it, like kind of more of a pity award because he never won an Oscar for so many years?
I don't know. I think you were taking my pick differently. I think Leo deserved to win. Like, I saw The Revenant. Didn't necessarily love it. But like I said, all the stuff that he did for the role was insane. And I think the reason he did all those stuff is because he just really wanted the Oscar. And he also worked with a director who makes Oscar-winning movies. So, like, he basically lined himself up perfectly to get the Oscar. If he didn't get the Oscar last year, I feel like that was his last chance of, like, all the stars aligned for Leo to get the Oscar. And everybody was kind of saying he was going to get the Oscar, too, because everybody knew, you kind of know who's going to win by the other series of award shows that happened beforehand. But, no, I think he did good, and I did think he deserved it. I just also liked Eddie Redmayne's, and of course your choices too. Everybody does a really good job, that's why you're nominated. But I forget what your question was. It was a pity award?
Yeah.
I don't think it was a pity award. I think it was just people were making a big deal about, like, oh, he's never won, and did, like, that little game where, like, try to get the Oscar, you're Leo, try to get the Oscar. I think it just assumed to be like that because people were making fun of him about it. But no, I don't think it was a pity award.
Okay. Well, now I think I have a better understanding, because I thought that when we discussed this a couple weeks ago that you were kind of against the idea, and that was kind of where I was leaning towards, but now I kind of understand where you were coming from when it came to that. All right, so before we go any further, just to give you guys a preview again of the Oscars for this year, I'll be reading off the nominations for actor in a leading role as well as actor in a supporting role. Nominations for leading role are Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea, Andrew Garfield for Hacksaw Ridge, Ryan Gosling for La La Land, there's a surprise, Viggo Mortensen for Captain Fantastic, and Denzel Washington for Fences. Actor in a supporting role, bear with me please, I'm hoping I'm not butchering this guy's name, Mahershala Ali for Moonlit, Jeff Bridges for Hell or High Water, Lucas Hedges for Manchester by the Sea, Dev Patel for Lion, and Michael Shannon for Nocturnal Animals. Very interesting selection, but going to be interesting to see, how our predictions are going to go in a couple weeks. It's crazy that it's almost about 2 weeks away from the Oscars. We just got done with the Super Bowl, and it's insane.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'm excited for this weekend, the Grammy. I love the Grammy. I just love award season. The ending of football is huge too. It kind of sucks for me because I love football. So it's like, oh, now Sundays. What am I supposed to do with myself? But every Sunday now has like some sort of award show. So I'm like, oh, good. I'll be good for a while.
Well, now we get to show the equality of the show by going into actresses. Shoulda, woulda, couldas. Let's kick it off with, I think, one that we agreed on for 2012. As much as we liked Meryl Streep in The Iron Lady, we thought that Viola Davis in The Help was definitely a little bit more, I guess you could say, I would actually argue that Viola Davis should have won this because, all honesty, she definitely brought the entire movie together. She definitely did a great job of explaining a lot of the segregation, a lot of all these true life stories that happened back in the day, and she just always found a way to make you go back to her and just think, wow, she's really just turning into like this role model for so many people in that era. And I think just how the movie ended with her again narrating that she never took any other children after that. She never looked after anybody. She just said, I'm one of those people that, I'm a one woman, I'm only one person. I stick with one child. That's it. And it just really shows a lot of dedication to it. She just found a way to really hit it home. But I don't know. Your thoughts on Viola Davis?
Yeah, I also thought she played such a significant role in The Help. And The Help was like an overall good movie, and it was pretty popular. Which a lot of times, like we've been seeing, these Oscar movies aren't very popular. So that could, maybe that came back to bite them. I don't know. It always intrigues me to see, like, when movies, if the movie did better, like, and then the actor doesn't win, I'm like, I hope it wasn't because of that, because I never saw Iron Lady, so I can't say anything about Meryl Streep's performance. I mean, her name is Meryl Streep, so we all know, like, she probably deserved the Oscar. But I do have to agree with you. I think Viola Davis did a phenomenal job in narrating and being a lead woman and actually, like, being the lead. And I guess, obviously, all of these girls are the lead in a movie, but I just think, in general, sometimes harder to have a lead actress in a successful movie. It's just going to the numbers and going to the facts doesn't always work out in your favor. So to have Viola Davis have such a successful movie as the lead African American woman, I think that's a phenomenal thing. So,
and we may have just up there.
Might have.
And for a brief second there, we froze up again. Skype, we love you. So let's go into another one that we had agreed on. I'm going to let you take the ball with this one. 2014, we both agreed that Sandra Bullock in Gravity was probably one of the more higher, although you have a different perspective from it. The winner was, Kate Blanchett for Blue Jasmine.
Right.
But your thoughts on the Sandra Bullock role for Gravity?
We kind of talked about it, and it's almost the same thing of what I just said about Viola Davis. Because, again, Gravity was one of those movies that actually took off, and it was a popular Oscar movie in 2014. And she was actually co-starred with George Clooney, and we talked about this last episode. It's like, you could have chose to either kill George Clooney or kill Sandra Bullock and just have the other person sit in the globe. And they decided to choose the woman to live and kind of propel this movie to its standard of getting multiple Oscar nominations and multiple actor and actresses nominations for this movie. So I just think it was really good. I liked the complex of just a single girl in space, kind of how The Martian was for Matt Damon, and it just seems so quiet, and it could turn into such a boring downfall of a movie, but with her acting skills and her personality, it really was awesome, and I agree with you that in 2014 I could see her taking the Oscar from Kate Blanchett. But again, I'm going to do a disclaimer, didn't see Blue Jasmine, didn't have any reason really I wanted to. I don't even know what it's about. So. Right.
Well, here's the thing. I'm kind of touching base with this like I did with Bradley Cooper in American Sniper. With Sandra Bullock, she does a pretty decent job with, humorous roles. But when it comes down to it, she just excels at serious roles. When, she's not trying too hard to be funny, or when she's just trying to more be, I guess, herself, or be a little bit more of a serious role, she kind of really just stands out the most. I mean, you look at movies like The Blind Side, of course, Gravity, and a lot of other movies that she really excels at. I mean, I'll even throw The Proposal in there, because she really didn't do that much in the way of humor for that role. She was kind of more the serious part of it, and Ryan Reynolds kind of more provided the humor with that movie. And I think that's why that movie was actually pretty good, was because you had like these, of course, two contradictory forces in Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock. And, of course, Ryan Reynolds being the funny man, does the best he can, fun-loving, and Sandra Bullock just providing that serious tone, really just excelled. And again, Gravity, I think that this is one of those things where I've said that Sandra Bullock was the only woman that I could see excelling at being, just carrying that movie by herself. Although, I know a lot of people disagree because they said George Clooney was still in it. It's like, I know, but it was more Sandra Bullock in that movie than George Clooney. Clooney, I think, was just there for about 20, 30 minutes in that movie, and then it was like, poof, gone. But the rest was all about Sandra Bullock, so definitely deserved a lot more credit for that role than Sandra Bullock. But what's your next pick for actress? Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
I guess I'll go back to 2011, which is I'm giving this person an Oscar, and then I'm also taking it away from her, which doesn't make any sense. But it's going to happen. So in 2011, Natalie Portman won for Black Swan, which was a crazy movie, very intense, very different. and really got a different look into the ballet scene. And I mean, ballet is crazy. It's hard. It's intense.